Hello.
Hey Daniel, how's it going?
Good. How are you?
Pretty good. I think this time I would like to try if you can channel Yeshua or Jesus.
Sure.
Cool, thank you.
Yep. Yes. 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 It is I, Yeshua. I am honored to be in your presence.
Hello.
Hello.
Would you mind telling me your story?
I wanted to be someone who would help the people of that time to broaden their ideas of what their relationship to God or Source really was. And so I came forth for that specific purpose. Although I was not in any way more godly or divine than anyone else. I, in fact, wanted to demonstrate my humanity to people as much as I demonstrated my divinity, so all could see that both coexist in all humans. I wanted people to let go of the strict laws of their faith and instead have a more personal connection with Source, to see themselves as having direct access to Source instead of having to go through a rabbi or another holy person as a go between, as a conduit to that energy. I wanted people to see that it was possible to live in peace and in harmony with the outcasts of society, the prostitutes, the tax collectors, the lepers, the poor, those who were undervalued, the women, the children. I wanted everyone to see the divinity in everyone else, regardless of who they were or what they had done. To not cast judgment, to find heaven within themselves, to use the tools that everyone has available to them, like fasting, like healing, like prayer, like meditation, to go beyond where they had been. Instead, people saw me as the one who would rescue them from the Romans and the Roman emperor to free them, to grant them access to the everlasting life that they already had access to be the one who could forgive all of their sins. And ultimately, they made me into the conduit, the go-between for them and Source. And that was not my intention. I lived a life that I feel proud of. Although I was not perfect, I did not always make the right decisions. I was as much a student as I was a teacher when I was there. And for people to see me as a spiritual teacher and a master who is still helping humanity in the same ways that I sought to help when I was in a physical body, that's the best way for people to relate to me now as I exist in this non-physical form. Does that answer your question?
Yes. And can you tell me about how you met Mary Magdalene?
She was a student who later became a colleague, a friend, and a lover. She was allowed to study with me again, even though women were not seen as being equal to men at that time, because I was able to convince her parents that it would be appropriate that she was someone who could take the teachings that I offered and actually use them in the way they were intended. And eventually we did get married and we did have children. Because again, I came to show people that I was human and not the only son of God, as they have still mistaken me to be.
What were your children's names?
David, Mark, Jessica. We had 3.
Did you know your fate or your destiny of the you being crucified before it happened?
Yes, I knew that that was what people needed of me. It wasn't what I wanted, but I did know that in order to have a lasting impact, I needed to go through that experience.
Thank you for going through that, and I really appreciate everything that you've done for humanity as well. What do you think about the Bible today?
There's some real gems in there, of course. And there's also some passages that are misinterpreted. There are things that have been taken out over time because it didn't serve the church's agenda to have them in there, like reincarnation. It has its problems, but it does inspire many to live more spiritual lives. Everyone has their own unique path to God or Source. And because most people need something they can hold on to, like a book. It does serve a greater purpose, and therefore it is useful to some. Some will outgrow it, and of course many do not ever need it in order to have their own relationship to Source, their own sense of spirituality and what it is that they need to do and not do in order to be closer to their true selves as beings of unconditional love.
How would you describe your relationship to God and Source?
I'm closer to that realm than those of you who are incarnate now on Earth, vibrationally. Ultimately, my relationship is unique just as everyone else's is. But we are all God, we are all Source, and we are all unique pieces of that puzzle. I am but one. My piece is not bigger than anyone else's. And if I were to incarnate right now, I would be as distant from Source in a sense as all of you, but I would choose not to forget who I really am so that I could do more teaching and do more connecting of people to their true selves.
Can you talk about your resurrection and talk about ascension, please?
The resurrection was essential to demonstrate to people that life is eternal. That's what it was meant for. That's why I didn't just come back and ascend, but instead I had to appear to people. I had to show them that life is eternal, that they will live on beyond their death. And after I made that point, I ascended. Now, that ascension is different from your ascension. Because when I came back, I was in a lighter version of my physical body already. You are taking the ascension more gradually, shifting into lighter and lighter physical vehicles until you are in light bodies yourselves, and as your consciousness will shift along with your physical body, you will have a type of body as a fifth dimensional being, but it will never get sick, never age, and never die, and you will be able to do a lot more with it.
Are you a commander of a spaceship?
No.
What do you think about the supposed channel material that gets spread online? Because I think people have their hearts in the right place, that they want to hear, positive information, but I think it gets labeled as from you.
Yes. You're right in that people do want to connect with me and often do connect with my energy, but they have their own distortions, their own beliefs, their own biases that twist and color the messages that I am sending through energy packets that I send to them, that allow them to continue a narrative that they already believe is true and to spread that narrative. And in that sense, these people are well-meaning teachers, but the people that will be attracted to them are not at the level where they could receive this channeling right here that's happening. So they're getting what they need from that particular teacher, even with those distortions and those filters in place. And it all serves a greater good. And that's why it all exists in the form that it does. All teachings and all channeled material, all messages that are being put out, they serve to keep those who need something like that. They need that vibration, that level of consciousness to keep them going, to give them something to believe in, to take them out of their own thoughts and their own feelings of despair.
Can you talk about sin and the devil?
The devil is a creation of the human mind. Lucifer is not the devil, because the devil only exists as a person's mind would create a devil to be. Demons as well. Not real, not creations of source. Sin is an attempt to get something right, or an attempt to do something or get something that a person wants that misses the mark, that isn't quite right. And so the person has an opportunity always to learn from their sin. Now, there are times when the person needs to ask for forgiveness from the person or people whom they have hurt with that misstep, that mistake that they made. But no one ever needs to ask for forgiveness from me or from God, Source, because we never condemn. So there's nothing that we need to forgive.
Can you talk about if there's a Sisterhood of the Rose, or is there like a secret society based on around empowering feminine energy?
Well, there are many secret societies, but if you're talking about non-physical groups, yes, there are non-physical consciousnesses that are focusing on bringing about the emergence of more divine feminine energy on your planet and in your consciousness within the men and women of your world, so that people can see the power and the majesty of the divine feminine.
Is there anything that you would like to say in closing? I really appreciate talking with you.
You are an excellent student. Everyone's getting what they need. Don't worry about your fellow humans. There's a plan for everyone. They all have their guidance. They all have their helpers. But it's nice to see those like you who have a higher perspective and can hold that higher perspective for the totality of humankind. Many blessings to you.
Yes, thank you very much. Love you.
Yes, I love you. I am Yeshua, and I am always in your presence. Mhm.
Hello, Daniel. Thank you very much.
Yes, hi.
Yes.